I still remember the first time I saw Anna. She wasn't just beautiful, she was magnetic. The kind of woman who could walk into a room and make everyone forget what they were doing. I was 23, working at a small computer shop downtown. I fixed broken laptops and phones, saved every penny, and dreamed of building something bigger. She walked in one afternoon with her cracked phone screen and a smile that could disarm anyone. She talked about life like it was a movie. She wanted the big house, the designer clothes, the soft life. I wanted those things too, but I wanted to earn them. She said she admired my ambition, that she believed in me. For a while, I thought we were perfect together. We'd sit by the lake, talk about the future, about kids, about the kind of home we'd build. She'd rest her head on my shoulder and say, "William, I just know you're going to make it big one day." But somewhere along the way, her words stopped matching her patience. The more I worked, the more distant she became. She wanted dinners at fancy restaurants, while I wanted to save. She wanted weekend trips, while I was chasing clients. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I wasn't giving her enough time, enough attention. But then, I noticed something different in her eyes. A coldness. A silence that spoke louder than any argument. One evening, I surprised her with flowers and a letter I had written about our dreams. But she wasn't home. I called her, no answer. Then I saw the pictures on social media. Anna, smiling beside a man in a suit, sitting in a car worth more than my entire shop. I stared at that photo for hours. My chest tightened. My eyes burned. I didn't need her to explain, the picture said everything. When she finally came home, I asked her calmly, "Who is he?" She didn't even try to lie. She just sighed and said, "William, you're a good man, but I can't keep struggling. I need stability. I need someone who can give me more than promises." Those words broke me. I remember saying, "So love isn't enough for you?" And she replied softly, "Love doesn't pay bills." That night, I sat alone in my room, surrounded by the darkness that used to be our dreams. The flowers wilted on the table. The letter I wrote torn in half. That was the night I decided I would never beg for love again. For weeks, I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying her words in my head, "I need stability." Every time I saw her post online vacations, fancy dinners, designer clothes, my heart twisted, but my determination grew stronger. Pain became fuel. Humiliation became hunger. I threw myself into work. I fixed phones during the day, delivered parcels at night, and watched business tutorials before bed. I studied marketing, web design, branding, anything that could push me forward. People laughed. They said I was obsessed. Maybe I was. Because when you've been broken to the core, you either stay down or rebuild yourself into something no one can destroy again. 2 years passed. I opened my own small tech startup. It wasn't much, just a few desks, a few computers, and a big dream. Clients started to trust me. Word spread. There were nights I'd work until sunrise. My hands shook from exhaustion, but my mind burned with fire. Every time I wanted to quit, I remembered her face. Her walking away. Her saying I wasn't enough. That pain became my reason to continue. By the 3rd year, my company started to grow faster than I could keep up. We landed a big contract with a foreign firm. Suddenly we were hiring. I was no longer fixing phones, I was leading a team. Money started flowing in. But it wasn't the money that mattered. It was the peace. The quiet satisfaction that comes when you know you're finally building your own destiny. One morning, I got a message request. It was Anna. My heart skipped, not because I missed her, but because of curiosity. Her message said, "Hey, I'm proud of you. I always knew you'd make it." I smiled at my screen. Not out of joy. Out of irony. She once said love doesn't pay bills, now she wanted a piece of the wealth that love built. I didn't reply. Not yet. Time kept moving. My business expanded into 3 cities. We started developing mobile apps and software for companies I once only dreamed of working for. Life was finally stable, peaceful, controlled. Then one day I was invited to a tech summit. I was to be a keynote speaker. The theme was From Failure to Fortune. As I stepped into the grand hall, my heart froze. Because there she was, Anna. She looked different. Older. Her spark dimmed. She wasn't standing beside that rich man anymore. In fact, she looked alone. I tried to look away, but she noticed me instantly. Her eyes widened shock, regret, disbelief. After my speech, she approached me slowly. "William," she whispered, almost afraid to speak too loudly. "It's really you?" I nodded, calm. "It's me." She smiled nervously. "You look successful." I said nothing. I didn't need to. Then she told me the truth I didn't expect. The man she left me for, Marcus, had gone bankrupt. He had cheated investors, lost everything, and eventually abandoned her too. She told me she was working at a small fashion store now, living paycheck to paycheck. Her eyes filled with tears as she said, "I thought I was choosing security, but I lost myself." I listened quietly. For the first time, I didn't feel hate. I felt pity, because she had traded love for luxury and ended up losing both. Before she left, she asked softly, "Can we start over? Maybe as friends?" I looked at her and said, "Anna, some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. They were meant to burn so we'd never cross them again." She nodded, tears in her eyes, and walked away. And for the first time, I truly felt free. Years later, life rewarded me beyond anything I ever imagined. My company went international. I built a foundation for young entrepreneurs. I traveled the world. I spoke at conferences. I lived the life I once dreamed about under broken streetlights. Sometimes I think about her not with anger, but with understanding. She was part of the journey that made me who I am. Without that pain, I might never have found my purpose. One afternoon, as I signed a deal for a new project, my assistant came in and said, "Sir, there's someone waiting to see you." I turned and there she was again. Anna. Time had changed her face. She looked tired, older, but her eyes still searched for hope. She handed me a folder. "William, I heard your company's hiring. I was wondering if you'd consider me." For a moment, silence filled the room. It was the same silence from years ago, but now, I was in control. I smiled gently and said, "I'll think about it. But tell me, Anna, would you work for a man who once wasn't enough for you?" She lowered her eyes. "I'd work for the man who became what I always wanted, because he earned it." Her honesty touched me. I decided to give her a chance, not out of revenge, but out of grace. Because true power is when you can forgive without forgetting. Today, she works for one of my partner companies. We rarely speak, but when we do, there's peace. And sometimes, when I look at how far I've come, I whisper to myself, "Thank you, Anna. You leaving me was the best thing that ever happened." They might laugh at you when you're small. They might walk away when you're struggling. But one day they'll have to watch you rise. Because sometimes, the best revenge is simply becoming everything they thought you couldn't be.